There was a little town somewhere in Appalachia, and on the outskirts of that town, way past all the other houses, there was a house up at the top of the hill. And now folks said that house was haunted. Nobody could live in that house. So finally, I mean, it's not good to have an abandoned house in your town. It doesn't look good. So the mayor, he offered up a bag of gold to anyone who could spend the night in that haunted house. Now, what they said was that in that house, at some point during the night, if you tried to stay in that house, you would hear strange things, and eventually you'd see a bloody head that would come down the chimney. Now, that head had frightened everybody. Everybody ran out of there. Nobody could stay the whole night. But there was a boy named Jack. Now, Jack, he was braver than most folks, or maybe just not that bright. Maybe he just wasn't that wise, didn't look out to save his own skin. So Jack, he had a dog, nice mangy old friendly dog, and so Jack, he decided to take up the challenge. So one October night, Jack and his dog, they walked up that hill, winds blowing those dry leaves across the pathway. Jack, he walked up that hill to that house, and he went in, pushed the door open and creaked. You know, they always creak in these houses. And he looks in, everything's covered in dust. There wasn't much in there, not a lot of furniture, just a fireplace, just one room. Fireplace and a chair in front of the fireplace. So Jack, there was still some daylight outside, so he went out, he collected firewood, built a nice big fire in the fireplace, and he sat in that chair with his dog, and he pulled out his pocket knife, just started whittling on a piece of wood. He just sat there with his dog and kind of watched the fire and started to get a little drowsy. His eyes are getting heavy as the night goes on, and he's watching that fire die down. And when he's almost about to go to sleep, he hears something. He thinks he hears it. Something far off in the woods. And the wind is blowing, but this voice, it came with the wind. And it was a man singing this long, sad song. He couldn't make out what the song meant, but it kind of sounded like, Me Tie Doughty Walker. Now, at that moment, Jack's dog, he raised up his head. His dog sang and answered the song. His dog said, Lynchy kinchy collie molly dingo dingo. What? Jack's dog never said a word in his life. Jack looked at him. He said, What did you just do? His dog just kind of looked at him innocent, laid back down again. Now Jack, he's starting to get creeped out here. But he kept sitting there staring at the fire. After some time, he heard that voice again. This time he's sure he heard it. It's closer to the house. Me Tie Doughty Walker. Now this time he tried to shut his dog up. He tried to hold his mouth shut because he thought whatever's out there, he didn't want him to know that he was in there with his dog. But his dog, he sang out even louder than before. Lynchy kinchy collie molly dingo dingo. Now Jackie couldn't stay seated. He stood up, he paced, walked back and forth. After a while, he heard that voice again. This time, that voice, it's coming from right up on the wall, right behind the house. Me Tie Doughty Walker. Now his dog, he couldn't stop him. His dog sings back again. Lynchy kinchy collie molly dingo dingo. And then Jackie heard something scraping. Something climbing up the side of the house. Something like claws, or he doesn't know what that is. Scrambling up the house and up on the roof, and then that voice that's coming down the chimney. Me Tie Doughty Walker. And his dog looks at the fireplace and says, Lynchy kinchy collie molly dingo dingo. And he heard something falling down the chimney, something heavy banging down the chimney, falling down, and he looks at the fireplace. A bloody human head jumped right over the fire, rolled across the floor, and it stopped right at Jack's feet. His dog looked at that head, and his dog fainted from fright. That head was covered in blood, had a long beard all matted with blood. And that head, it slowly turned up toward Jack, and it stared him in the eyes, and it slowly opened up its mouth, and it slowly. Ah! Well, Jackie woke up. It was just a dream, and the sun was coming up outside. His dog was just as good as new. There was no bloody head anywhere. So he went down to the mayor and he claimed that bag of gold. He was a rich man after that, but he didn't live in that house. He never did like that house. Just a little too creepy. So he bought his own house instead.